Greetings, one and all. It is Professor Rocca of the National Unofficial Disease Control Agency, a subdivision of the Dead Air Dudes. If you're listening to this podcast and you have seen our YouTube video, you have noticed a clip from the beginning opening scene of the cult classic Train to Busan. And if not, I will refresh your memory. A truck driver goes through a quarantined area because of some kind of outbreak in the animals. And he's washed down and everything. And as he gets through, he's on his phone, he's distracted, he runs over a deer. Checks it out. This has ruined already a messed up day. And as he drives off, the deer reanimates. Okay, why am I bringing this up? Okay, because there is a concern out there, not just by me, but by the National Infectious Disease Control Agencies, the CDC, and the global world, the WHO Health Organization, and others, okay, of a possible epidemic infection in a group of diseases called chronic wasting disease, CWD. It's seen in deer, elk, moose, and the like. And as of November of last year, a confirmed case was spotted in our very own Yellowstone National Park. By December of 23, it was estimated 10 to 15% of the mule herd roaming North America and Canada might be infected by this chronic wasting disease. And as I rattle off the symptoms of such disease, you will find parallels to zombie outbreak. Yes, I know this is real conjecture and really reaching. But you never know when a disease that affects a population, animal population or otherwise, jumps species and may affect humans. Oh, I don't know. There was a thing in 2020 or the end of 19. What was it called? What was it? It shut down the world? Yes, it was the novel coronavirus that had spread a disease called COVID-19 that crippled the advanced society we know as humankind. And it jumped from a freaking bat, a fruit bat. Supposedly. We can argue until the sun comes to another eclipse how this happened, what was behind it. Was this genetically enhanced as an evolutionary step by some other means? Or did it naturally occur? Regardless of the case, it jumped from one species to humankind. Why can't this? And as we investigate further the root cause of this chronic wasting disease, it might become even more evident that beyond the fungus of some other cordyceps type disease, zombie related, and possible T virus or other kind of mutagen virus or bacteria or pathogen, the root cause of this disease may very well be the root cause of a real life zombie outbreak. So a little history, if you would. CWD, chronic wasting disease, was first identified in a captive deer in Colorado in a research facility in the late 1960s. Yeah, that's right, 1960s. This wild deer was also found to have the similar disease in 1981. By the 1990s, it had been reported that surrounding areas in northern Colorado and southern Wyoming had multiple infected deer. The CDC and National Wildlife Health Center also reported that as of December of 23, as I just mentioned, free-ranging deer, elk, and moose have been reported in at least 32 states in the continental United States and in 3 provinces in Canada. Oh, the Canadians. Now, this also has been reported, get this, in Norway, Finland, Sweden, and South Korea. South Korea. The first ever zombie deer case, however, was discovered, yes, as mentioned, in Colorado. Now, as it spreads, and we'll get into that, how it spreads, you'll see more zombie-like analogies. Now, there is been research and conclusive evidence that they trace this to something called a prion. And you astute listeners out there are going to ask, what the hell is a prion? Well, you've come to the right place. And we will tell you now. All right. Don't be intimidated if the science gets a little wordy. It is what it is, and I'll explain it in great layman detail. The prion is a misfolded form of a host-encoded protein. They're encoded by a prion protein gene, PRNP. Now, that's a lot of stuff, and I'll just really water it down. Think of a misfolded mold. And in order to make other products of this mold, it has to be formed correctly. And that piece gets put into a cog, into a bigger cog that runs the whole machine. Let's call that machine the brain. And so if this misformed cog gets inserted into the system, guess what, folks? The system fails. And the brain malfunctions. And you go loopy and batty. And you start acting out and going all zombie on us. In essence, that's what a prion is. And you want to know what else prions do? Let's bring up some names that you may know. First biggest one, mad cow. That's right. These crazy cows that were fed infected meat eat each other. We eat them. And a big outbreak in England caused concern. These malformed proteins get into the body's system and gravitate to the brain and central nervous system and get you all screwy. Hence the term mad cow. What symptoms are we talking about with something like mad cow or chronic wasting disease? Well, you're not acting yourself. And in the deer population, what it translates to is this: neurological behavioral changes that include decreased social interaction, loss of awareness, loss of fear of humans, which, in hunting, that's not a good thing. And then you get excessive drooling, lowering the head, blank stares, listlessness, and you get emaciated because some very chronic things like foraging for the right foods or eating on time or eating to your full and all that other good stuff goes out the window. And then the behavior patterns are kind of mindless, kind of like a little bit dementia and a lot of wackiness. So these animals waste away, hence the name chronic wasting disease, until they get to a point where they do not function anymore and they die. A little tidbit about this chronic wasting disease: there's no cure. It's 100% fatal, just like in mad cow, just like in other of the prion diseases. And if you want to destroy a prion, it gets even better. You must introduce the pathogen to high heat of about 900 degrees Fahrenheit or above for several minutes in order to denature to the point that it no longer causes the proteins to misfold. Well, hell, why don't you just send them all into a rocket ship and head them straight to the sun? So this is the kind of indestructible thing that we're talking about. There's no antivirus. There's no vaccine. There is no Robitussin. There is no cure, okay? For such a minuscule, this is smaller than a virus, smaller than a microbe, smaller than a bacteria, smaller than a fungus, nothing like that. But it will infect, and it infects by eating tainted meat. The CDC recommends if you suspect any kind of deer, don't eat it. If you're even doubtful, burn the sucker, do not touch it, do not eat it. That's how disturbing this is. A similar one, which has a really cool backstory, a similar prion disease is Kuru. Kuru is found among people of the New Guinea area. Okay? These individuals practice a form of cannibalism where they ate the brains of the dead people as part of the funeral ritual. Mostly the men ate it. And this is after the body has been laid out without any kind of embalming, without any kind of refrigeration for like days. Okay, so when researchers were studying this disease, they had traced the funeral procession and rituals to those who would consume these bodies. Corpses of family members were often buried days later, then exhumed once the corpses were colonized by insect larvae. Okay. And then they would be dismembered and served. Because in the tradition, if you eat the body and there's something spiritual attached and all that good stuff. But I don't think so. And so in their practice, they found that the villagers who ate the brains especially contracted the disease, which had, along with it, trembling and crazy enough, they also called it the laughing sickness due to pathological outbursts of laughter for no reason whatever. No joke was told. It's just you going crazy. So, I mean, that was bizarre. And that was researched extensively in 1961 by Australian medical researcher Michael Alpers. And of course, you can read up on papers and stuff like that. But I mean, that's one of them. There's another one that's like a German name, I think. Sleeping sickness. There's a fatal familiar insomnia, FFI. That's also traced to a prion. There's the, I can't even try to pronounce this, Gertzmann-Strauss-Schnicker syndrome. Again, traced to a prion, affecting people, 1 per 1 million people. I mean, it's very rare. But isn't it the rare ones that end up causing these worldwide cataclysmic pathogen disasters? You know, again, COVID-19. So the spongiform stuff that forms in the brain really like makes Swiss cheese out of your noggin. I mean, it is a concern. Now, there is no outright cry now to contain all deer and go deer hunting for those that are, you know, funny looking, behaving deer. But it bears merit to keep an eye on it. And that there is precedent for disease jumping species. That's well established medically. What is interesting is that the prion, a totally defenseless pathogen for us, is making its rounds into other species, mammals that are close to humans, or at least within our at least hunting range, and the possibility exists. The fact that it's growing at an alarmingly larger rate than people are comfortable with, the so-called experts, should raise an eyebrow of concern. So anyone out there who wishes to go deer hunting soon or when the deer season commences, please keep a watchful eye out. And remember to always stay vigilant Don't eat tainted meat. This is Rocker from the Deader Dudes with a little public service announcement. Possible world zombie crisis outbreak warning. Thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing. And thanks for keeping Deader Dudes the Deader Dudes. Remember, always, always save the whales.
Ah, ah.